Oh. Hey, hey. Oh. Hey, hey. What's up? Alright, let's do this. We're just kind of fucking around right now. We'll see how it goes. Am I allowed to say that? YouTube is so chaste. What's up? It's me, Callie. How you doing? Glad you guys is here. Appreciate you stopping by. We've been meaning to do something like this for a while. I'm gonna do a little reading for you all, right? So, hoping you'll find this enjoyable. Those of you on YouTube, experience over there are gonna be kind of bare bones. This is really just so we have, you know, like a recording of the experience, right? Hoping you'll find this enjoyable. Those of you on YouTube, experience over there are gonna be kind of bare. Also, we're still playing with things like sound balance and whatever, but hopefully you'll find it to be agreeable, yeah? Alright. We're gonna be reading. I'll show you. Can I do that? Is that okay? Well, here. Right here. This book. This is a picture we took a moment ago. Okay. I'm not gonna take a new picture. It's literally the thumbnail. That's Jirachi. Jirachi's sitting right here with me. Jirachi's listening. So you listen too, right? I'm not reading. Violet's reading. I'm just here to introduce, and because I stole Violet's slot. So those of you on YouTube, you get a little bit of a behind the scenes shit, right? So watch. You're gonna get to see me turn into Violet, which is literally how it went down. So, alright, here we go. First of all, that feels weird. Second of all, and then oh. We got there we are. gonna change the horns last. Because that's the true sign of who you're talking to. Our horns give us away. Yeah, that don't work. Oh, she don't need that. Those are my glasses. There we go. Purple ones is mine. She wore the green ones. Hey, you looking at me, you're like, but that's Violet. Yeah, it will be. Hold on. Ain't you paying attention? And then, of course, we got that's for the background. There we are. And finally, I'm gonna peace out and really pass this over to Violet for real. Change your horns. Well, that was fun. Thank you, Callie. Hi, friends. Shall we do a little reading? Let's go live on reality, shall we? Little taste of behind the scenes. I honestly don't expect anyone to join this stream. Most of you experiencing this will likely experience the recording on YouTube. But I'm glad you're here regardless. Thank you. Audience, age restricted. Well, that might not be a bad idea. Listen, I love you children, but Terry Pratchett is a little edgy, number one. Number two, some of you are a little rowdy, and I don't want you coming into my stream and making it about yourself. But at the same time, let's just see what happens. Those of you on YouTube, do be aware, we might get some weirdos. You see, there's no stream category for this. Request a new category. Requested categories before, and we haven't seen any new categories added since they added the category feature, but they can be a little slow sometimes, so we'll see what happens. Alright. We're actually gonna turn the lights up here in the booth. Wow. Hello? just set a couple ground rules real quick. That's enough. Okay. So, let me scooch up over here. Just like that. Are you hearing my bird? Let me actually, let's see if I can make a quick adjustment over here. Switch this up a little bit. Just a little bit. That's good. I'd like for that portion of the screen for those of you on YouTube to just have yours truly. In the future, we might even give you the opportunity to see my lovely hands. I don't know about that. Right now, that's not what we're doing. This is honestly, this is something new for us. And, I don't know if anyone's gonna like it. I don't know if anyone's gonna be here for it. But I don't care, because I want to do it anyway. Let me just check something. Alright. Oh, yeah, hold on. Mute that, and then... I don't know if anyone's gonna like it. I don't know if anyone's gonna be here for it. But I don't care, because I want to do it anyway. Just a sec. I'm just checking the sound balance before we begin. Thanks for your patience. How goofy is that? Just a sec. Oh man, that's so goofy. I'm just checking the sound balance before we begin. Thanks for your patience. How goofy is that? This seems alright. Alright, great. Let's get back to the music. Let's do it. So, Small Gods is a novel by Terry Pratchett, a part of the DISCWORLD series. Have you heard of it? We highly recommend it. Here, let me make a note here. Reading. Small. Yes, Smash Gods. No, we'll show you that later. This is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places, and incidents are products of the author's imagination, or are used fictitiously and are not to be construed as real. That's right, Denki's here with us. You hear my birdie? And are not to be construed as real. Any resemblance to actual events, locales, organizations, or persons, living or dead, is entirely coincidental. Well, they have to tell you that, but the truth is, the universe is far more interesting than a little disclaimer like that would lead you to believe. Now, shall we begin? I may sometimes say a few asides of my own, but by and large, I'll just be following along with the text. So please enjoy. Consider the tortoise and the eagle. The tortoise is a ground-living creature. It is impossible to live near the ground without being under it. Its horizons are a few inches away. It has about as good a turn of speed as you need to hunt down a lettuce. As in the vegetable. It has survived while the rest of evolution flowed past it by being, on the whole, no threat to anyone and too much trouble to eat. Good for you, tortoise. And then there is the eagle, a creature of the air and high places whose horizons go all the way to the edge of the world. Eyesight keen enough to spot the rustle of some small and squeaky creature half a mile away. And that's the truth. All power, all control. Lightning death on wings. Talons and claws enough to make a meal of anything smaller than it, and at least take a hurried snack out of anything bigger. Welcome, friends. We're reading Small Gods by Terry Pratchett. Feel free to stick around, or not. Glad for your presence all the same. And yet, getting back to the tortoise and the eagle. The eagle, in comparison to the tortoise, will sit for hours on the crag and survey the kingdoms of the world until it spots a distant movement, and then it will focus. Focus. Focus on the small shell wobbling among the bushes down there on the desert. And it will leap. And a minute later, the tortoise finds the world dropping away from it. And it sees the world for the first time, no longer 1 inch from the ground, but 500 feet above it. And it thinks, what a great friend I have in the eagle. Oh, tortoise. Bless you. Page 2. And then the eagle lets go. And then the eagle lets go. And almost always the tortoise plunges to its death. Yeah. Everyone knows why the tortoise does this. Gravity is a habit that is hard to shake off. No one knows why the eagle does this. There's good eating on a tortoise, but considering the effort involved, there's much better eating on practically anything else. It's simply the delight of eagles to torment tortoises. Well. But of course, what the eagle does not realize is that it is participating in a very crude form of natural selection. One day, a tortoise will learn to fly. So consider the story of the tortoise and the eagle. And let's move on to the story at hand. And this story takes place in desert lands, in shades of umber and orange. When it begins and ends is more problematical. But at least one of its beginnings took place above the snow line, thousands of miles away in the mountains around the hub. What is the hub, you might ask? Well, let's answer that question real quick. What is the hub? Well, the hub is a part of the DISCWORLD where we're going to find ourselves. This is not on Earth, but you might find it familiar all the same. Anyway, if you are a believer in, Omnianism, they don't believe in the hub. They don't believe that the DISCWORLD is flat, actually. They believe that the DISCWORLD is, in fact, a sphere. What a silly idea. The world being round? So they don't consider it the hub, but instead the pole. Very silly idea. Anyway. The story takes place in desert lands, in shades of umber and orange. When it begins and ends is more problematical, but at least one of its beginnings took place above the snow line, thousands of miles away in the mountains around the hub. One of the recurring philosophical questions is... Recurring philosophical questions. What an idea. Does a falling tree in the forest make a sound when there is no one to hear? It's a good question, isn't it? Does a falling tree in the forest make a sound when there is no one to hear? Which says something about the nature of philosophers, doesn't it? Because there's always someone in a forest. It may only be a badger, wondering what that cracking noise was, or a squirrel, a bit puzzled by all the scenery going upwards. But someone. At the very least, if it was deep enough in the forest, millions of small gods would have heard it. Small gods. Things just happen. Things just happen, one after another. They don't care who knows. But history. History. History is different. History has to be observed. Otherwise, it's not history. It's just, well, things happening one after another. Like page 3, following page 2. And, of course, history has to be controlled. Otherwise, it might turn into anything. Because history, contrary to popular theories, is kings and dates and battles. And these things have to happen at the right time. This is difficult. In a chaotic universe, there are too many things to go wrong. It's too easy for a general's horse to lose a shoe at the wrong time, or for someone to mishear an order, or for the carrier of the vital message to be waylaid by some men with sticks and a cash flow problem. Terry Pratchett has a real way with words, doesn't he? Thanks for being here. We're on page 3 of Small Gods by Terry Pratchett. We're just getting into it. If you have any questions, feel free to join us on REALITY.app, the link to which you may find in the description on YouTube. And I'll be happy to chat a little bit in between paragraphs here and there. It's too easy for history to be changed, right? And then there are wild stories, parasitic growths on the tree of history, trying to bend it their way. So, history has its caretakers. What an interesting thought. These caretakers live, well, in the nature of things, they live wherever they are sent. But their spiritual home is in a hidden valley in the high ram tops of the Discworld, where the books of history are kept. I told you this takes place not here on Earth, but on the Discworld. What's up, Oni? Oni's reading along with us. Do you hear him? Yeah, boy. He's a little grumpy with me because we didn't give them any fresh breakfast. They just had some leftovers today. But they have a lot of leftovers. Yes, they do. Oh, now he's pleased because I said hello to him. The high ram tops at the hub, right? Yes. In the center of the Discworld are the tallest mountains, called the ram tops. Anyway, these books of history, they aren't books in which the events of the past are pinned like so many butterflies to a cork. These are the books from which history is derived. There are more than 20,000 of them. Each one is 10 feet high. That is a big book. Bound in lead. And the letters are so small that they have to be read with a magnifying glass. Can we just imagine that for a moment? What a mental image that is, right? A book 10 feet tall. 20,000 of these 10-foot tall books bound in heavy, heavy lead. With letters so tiny you can't even read them without a magnifying glass. What a mental image, right? Oh, hey. 15 minutes streamed on Reality. This actually may turn into what our daily reality stream will become moving forward. We'll see. Callie didn't quite get my hair right, by the way, but that's okay. Anyway, let's continue. How are you doing? Do you have a snack? Something to drink? We're gonna go for a little while yet. I'd like to at least get to, I don't know, a good part, right? I'll be talking less now. Hopefully I've helped establish a mood for you, darling. I'm very glad that you're here. Thank you. So, history has its caretakers. They live wherever they are sent, but their spiritual home is in a hidden valley in the high ram tops, where the books of history are kept. These books are the books from which history is derived. There are more than 20,000 of these books. Each one of these 20,000 books being a huge 10 feet high, bound in heavy lead, with letters so small that they must be read with a magnifying glass. What an idea. When people say, "It is written," well, it's written here. There are fewer metaphors around than people think. Every month, the abbot and 2 senior monks go into the cave where the books are kept. It used to be the duty of the abbot alone, but 2 other reliable monks were included after the unfortunate case of the 59th abbot, who made $1 million in small bets before his fellow monks caught up with him. You little... Makes one think of Back to the Future, right? That little betting book, remember that? Besides, it's dangerous to go in alone. Hi. Thanks for being here. We're reading Small Gods by Terry Pratchett. We're only a couple pages in. If you have any questions about what's going on, feel free to ask. Besides, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this. Excuse me. What's that? No, that's not right. The sheer concentratedness of history with a capital H. The sheer concentratedness of history sleeting past soundlessly out into the world can be overwhelming. Time is a drug. Too much of it kills you. Thank you for the heart. Appreciate that. Let's move on now to page 4. Page 4 of Small Gods by Terry Pratchett. The 493rd abbot folded, that's where we find ourselves now, with the 493rd abbot of history, I suppose, folded his wrinkled hands and addressed Lu Tse, one of his most senior monks. The clear air and untroubled life of the secret valley was such that all the monks were senior. Besides, when you work with time every day, some of it tends to rub off. The abbot spoke, saying, "The place is Omnia, on the Klatchian coast." And that's Klatchian with a K, of course. "I remember," said Lu Tse, one of his most senior monks. "Young fellow called Ossory, wasn't there? Ossory? O-S-S-O-R-Y. Ossory." The abbot continued, "Things must be carefully observed. There are pressures, free will, predestination, the power of symbols, turning point. You know all about this." Lu Tse responded, saying, "Haven't been to Omnia for, must be 700 years. Dry place. Shouldn't think there's a ton of good soil in the whole country, either." "Off you go then," said the abbot. "I shall take my mountains," said Lu Tse. "The climate will be good for them." And he also took his broom and his sleeping mat. The history monks don't go in for possessions. They find most things wear out in a century or two. And isn't that the truth? It took Lutze 4 years to get to Omnia, the desert nation, just on the Klatchian coast. He had to watch a couple of battles and an assassination on the way. Otherwise, they would have just been random events. These history monks, they work very hard. Moving on to a new section, we find that it was the year of the notional serpent. The year of the notional serpent. Here in the world of the Disc. Or 200 years after the declaration of the prophet Abyss. Is it Abyss or Abyss? I don't know, it sounds nice either way, right? Welcome. We're just reading a book right now. Feel free to stick around, it's good to see you. Glad you're here. If you have any questions about what we're reading, feel free to ask. It was the year of the notional serpent, or 200 years after the declaration of the prophet Abyss, which meant that the time of the 8th prophet was imminent. That was the reliable thing about the church of the great god Om. It had very punctual prophets. Doing well, honestly. Doing pretty well today. Hope the same for you. The church of the great god Om had very punctual prophets. You could set your calendar by them, well, if you had one big enough. And as is generally the case around the time a prophet is expected, the church redoubled its efforts to be holy. Gotta look good for the prophet, right? This was very much like the bustle you get in any large concern when the auditors are expected, but tended towards taking people suspected of being less holy and putting them to death in 100 ingenious ways. Oh dear. This is considered a reliable barometer of the state of one's, is it piety or piety? The state of being pious. This is considered a reliable barometer of the state of one's level of piousness in most of the really popular religions. There's a tendency to declare that there is more backsliding around than in the National Toboggan Championships. Okay. That heresy must be torn out root and branch, and even arm and leg and eye and tongue, and that it's time to wipe the slate clean. Blood is generally considered very efficient for this purpose. Oh dear. So it's one of those types of religions, huh? Well, they're allowed, I guess. And so it was said. And it came to pass that in that time the great god Om spoke. Excuse me, no. They did not spoke. They spake. And it came to pass that in that time the great god Om spake unto brother, the chosen one. Psst. And so spake the great god Om unto brother, the chosen one. Once again it was. Psst. Well, that's one thing for a god to say. Brother, the chosen one of the great god Om, paused in mid-ho and stared around the temple garden. Pardon? He said. Brother's a little confused. Who's whispering to him? They are noisy today. They're glad to be a part of this experience. So, I hope you're glad for their gladness. Yeah. They love it when we speak, and they like to join in sometimes. So, the way they join in sometimes is a little simple, but it's beautiful in its own way. Psst. It was a fine day early in the lesser spring. The prayer mills spun merrily in the breeze off the mountains. Bees loafed around in the bean blossoms, but buzzed fast in order to give the impression of hard work. High above, a lone eagle circled. Remember what we were talking about earlier with the tortoise and the eagle? The tortoise and their horizon of but a few inches away, and the eagle and the horizon of, well, the edge of the world. And the eagle's, shall we say, preponderancy to pick up those tortoises and let them go. High above, a lone eagle circled. Brother shrugged and got back to the melons. We're on page 5, by the way, about to enter page 6. Yea, the great god Om spake again unto brother, the chosen one. Psst. Brother hesitated. Someone had definitely spoken to him from out of the air. Head pats are always appreciated. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed a bit of this reading. Hope to see you again soon. Have a lovely day. It's always a pleasure. Thank you. But it's true. Somebody had definitely spoken to Brother out of thin air. Perhaps it was a demon. Novice Master Brother Numrod. Well, there's an H in it. Numrod? Well, he was hot on the subject of demons. Impure thoughts and demons. One led to the other. Brother was uncomfortably aware that he was probably overdue a demon. The thing to do was to be resolute and repeat the 9 fundamental aphorisms. Here we go. Oh, but I guess before he gets there, once more the great god Om spake unto brother, the chosen one. Are you deaf, boy? Well, that did it. The hoe thudded onto the baking soil. Brother spun around. There were the bees, the eagle, and, at the far end of the garden, old brother Lutze. Oh hey, we know that name. Interesting. Old brother Lutze dreamily forking over the dung heap. The prayer mills whirled reassuringly along the walls. He made the sign with which the prophet Ishgabel had cast out spirits. Get thee behind me, demon, he muttered. I am behind you. Brother turned again, slowly. The garden was still empty. He fled. And I think that's where we'll leave it for today. What kind of world is this that we just stepped into, huh? What kind of world is this that we just stepped into, huh? I'd like to give each of you an opportunity to give this a listen on YouTube. Once, twice, maybe even thrice. Because many stories start long before they begin, and Brother's story had its origins thousands of years before his birth. There are billions of gods in the world. They swarm as thick as herring roe. Most of them are too small to see and never get worshipped, at least by anything bigger than bacteria, who never say their prayers and don't demand much in the way of miracles. They are the small gods, the spirits of places where 2 ant trails cross, the gods of microclimates down between the grass roots. And most of them stay that way, because what they lack is belief. A handful, though, go on to greater things. Anything may trigger it. A shepherd seeking a lost lamb finds it among the briars and takes a minute or two to build a small cairn of stones in general, thanks to whatever spirits might be around the place. Or a peculiarly shaped tree becomes associated with a cure for disease. Or someone carves a spiral on an isolated stone. Because what gods need is belief, and what humans want is gods. Often it stops there. Often it stops there, but sometimes it goes further. More rocks are added, more stones are raised. A temple is built on the site where the tree once stood. The god grows in strength, the belief of its worshippers raising it upwards like 1,000 tons of rocket fuel. For a very few, the sky's the limit, and sometimes not even that. Thanks for joining us today. We leave it here on page 7 of Small Gods by the very ingenious Terry Pratchett. The Discworld series of novels are a personal favorite of ours, and appropriately enough, were gifted to us by our very beloved mother, whose life we celebrate every day, but who very recently, as you might have guessed by a particular YouTube post, we are especially celebrating right now. So our goal, in fact, is to share every one of the Discworld books with you, and there are dozens of them, and they're very fun. And they're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but that's okay, nothing is. And this story, well, it's problematic in its own ways, but it's also very enlightening, and it's also very enjoyable. So we look forward to sharing more of it with you. We'll probably do, say about 15 minutes every day. How's that? Not very much, just a little bit, but it adds up real quick. And for those of you here on YouTube, thanks for tuning in. Sorry you can't join the chat. Oh, but wait, you can, silly. Check the description for a link. Sign up to REALITY.app, and you can chat along with us right here. As you can see, some of our very precious darlings have already chosen to do. Thank you so much. It means a great deal. Thank you, truly. So look forward to more of this every day until we run out of books. And maybe by that time we'll have some stories of our own to share with you. Or perhaps we can share some other stories. I definitely have some in mind. And maybe we'll mix it up from time to time. If you have suggestions on what we can read, we're very open to them. We don't have to do the same book every day. But for now, that's what we're going to do. So look forward to it. This will just be a little playlist that we tuck away on YouTube. And for those of you who join us primarily on Reality, just a little something to look forward to each day. As for the exact time when we'll be doing it, well, it's probably going to be around the time we wake up, whenever that is. Which tends to be, well, you'll see. And that's all for today. Thanks for joining. Credits, of course, for the music today go to Lo-Fi Girl and all the wonderful musical artists associated thereof. Really glad you're here, truly. Glad to see Nova coming by. She's such a pleasure. And to those rare few of you who did join us on YouTube, be it live or watching now in the recording, thanks. What we need is belief. The sky's the limit, and sometimes not even that. So we'll see you soon, okay? Look forward to more. Next time on Dragon Ball Z. No, sorry, that's our stream in about 2 hours. We gotta start to get ready for that now.